everyone, and welcome to this week's Top 4 at 4, where we discuss the 4 biggest issues facing OEA at the Capitol this week. I'm Amanda Ewing, your Legislative and Political Director, and the 4 topics we'll cover today include Senate Bill 707, House Bill 1622. Both of those bills are in the beginning stages of conference committee negotiations, and Ivy Riggs, your LPO specialist for Eastern Oklahoma, is going to tell you about those. Then we'll update you on education funding for the upcoming fiscal year. Chanson, your LPO specialist for Western Oklahoma, will tell you about that. And then I'll talk a little bit finally about the 25th anniversary of the passage of House Bill 1017. So let's go to Ivy and talk about the testing bills. Ivy?
Thanks, Amanda. The first one I want to talk about is Senate Bill 707. It's one of the bills that would remove our end of instruction exams that we have in the high school, at the high school level as it currently, and it would let, as it reads now, it would let the State Board of Education choose a new assessment as long as it's aligned to the new standards. House Bill 1622 also would remove end of instruction exams and let the State Department choose a new assessment as long as it is aligned with our new standards, but it also has a provision in it that would remove any non-federally mandated testing, anything not federally mandated in grades 3 through 8. So those are 2 very important things we're looking at this session. In both bills, the removal of the EOIs would be phased in. Most likely, because of the timeline of the standard adoption, it would be for freshmen for school year beginning 16-17. The new standards should be written by this December, hopefully approved by the State Board of Education by February of 2016, approved by the legislators sometime during next year's session, which would be at the very latest May of 2016. So then the State Board could begin adopting new assessments after that. We're addressing these 2 bills specifically because those are our 2 major issues, working on reducing testing in grades 3 through 8 and also removing the EOIs. Looking for we think at this point the ACT is the test that makes the most sense. It has real-world value. Colleges are looking at it. And so we are happy that Superintendent Hoffmeister, if the State Department and the State Board get to choose that test, we know she supports the move to the EOI. So we are excited about these both being still alive and moving through the process.
Great. Thank you, Ivy. Now, Chanson, what are you hearing about funding? I know we're at the point where budget negotiations are going on, but they go on behind closed doors with only a very few people in the room. So we are hearing a few things, I know. Why don't you give us an update?
Can do. You pretty much said it right, hit it right on the nail right there, Amanda. The funding situation is still very much up in the air at the moment. Meetings with policymakers are still going on behind closed doors. However, there have been some rumors swirling around that a 2% overall cut to education is possible. Earlier in the legislative session, policymakers asked all state agencies what their assumed budgets would look like with a 2% cut. Superintendent Hoffmeister presented some very real-world numbers to answer those questions. The 2015 state budget of appropriated dollars for education was $1.8 billion. And a 2% cut for the 2016 budget would have an impact of very close to $50 million less than the last year's budget. This would, in effect, double the current teacher shortage from, I believe it's 1,000 now, to nearly 1,800 vacancies. We, of course, are going to continue to urge lawmakers to refrain from any cuts to the education budget. And as soon as we have any more information, we're going to make that available to everybody.
All right, thanks very much. So our final topic today is that this month marks the 25th anniversary of the passage of House Bill 1017. In 1990, OEA members, many of which are still members today, were at the Capitol fighting for one of the most monumental achievements in Oklahoma public education. I think this anniversary provides a good opportunity to reflect on that achievement. When educators left the schoolhouses and went to the State House. They went to the Capitol for a week and marched around that Capitol in the rain and fought very hard to secure what was for that year, $230 million increase in funding to common education. That's a figure that we would dream of having today, 25 years later. And that funding allowed the state to implement some very important accreditation requirements. That's when we got our class size requirements and the requirements that we spend money on textbooks and the library and frankly, a lot of things that have been eroded over the years. And I'm not sure, for those of you that haven't seen it, OEA in the 90s produced a documentary, a mini documentary. It's about 30 minutes long, called 4 Days in April. You can find that on our Facebook page, where there's a link to it up right now. And I just encourage you, if you haven't seen it, to watch it, or even if you were there. I've talked to some folks that have watched it this past week who said that it was fun to remember those days. And share your stories with us on Facebook. Tell us about the lessons that you learned that we'd do well to maybe be reminded of today as we're still fighting many of those same fights. It's a good time to reflect on what we accomplished then and think about what we need to do to get back to some of those accomplishments and move forward even from there. So that's all we've got for the top for today. Joining us in the room today, we have OEA's Vice President, Alicia Priest. Would you like to give us any final words of wisdom, Alicia?
I just think it's great news to hear that we're getting some relief from our current crazy testing environment. I know that is foremost on the minds of our members right now as they're hot and heavy in the testing session. So we look for good things to come from that, and that is a direct result of their engagement in the Common Sense Testing Tour and writing their legislators about those issues. So keep up the good work.
Awesome. And also we've got OEA Executive Director David Duvall. David?
Hello, everyone. I've got nothing additional to add.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We hope you'll join us again next week and have a good rest of your week.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.